Welcome to FreedomCast, a podcast dedicated to interviewing star icons and entrepreneurs who have encouraged others to become more healthy and active. My name is Ashton, and it's my pleasure to host you as we take another trip through the fitness industry. It's entertaining and informative, and I hope it makes fitness more exciting and special to you in your own fitness journey. FreedomCast is supported by Freedom Fitness Equipment in Charlotte, North Carolina. Freedom Fitness Equipment serves the health and fitness community nationwide, from free weights and strength equipment for home gyms and studios to cardio and conditioning equipment for commercial spaces. Check them out at freedomfitnessequipment.com. Let's get rolling with today's show. I appreciate you coming on, man. For those of you who don't know, this is Garrett Blatnik. Did I say the last name right?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. He's an elite powerlifter, Pro Highland Games Athlete. And are you sponsored by Hosswear? Is that right?
Yeah, Hosswear.
Fantastic. I actually interviewed his brother at Strength Empire Gym here in Indian Trail, North Carolina. And he recommended I speak with you because you sound like a badass. So, I wanted to get you on here just to talk about your career and also the businesses you've started because, again, for our audience, not only has Garrett started a gym, but he's also started a restaurant business in pizza, which is no small feat in and of itself. So, first of all, can you give us a little bit of background about yourself and your training career and how you got into powerlifting in the first place?
So my brother and I, we both got into lifting through our dad. Our dad always had a set of weights at the house. He had that set of weights until I think Justin sold it, if I'm not mistaken. What a jerk. But he had a bench press. It was basic little bench press pulley system. Mm-hmm. No buildable dumbbells. So you had two of the dumbbells that you used to, add weights on. Yeah. He always had that from when I was born until Justin ended up selling it back probably about 5, 6 years ago, and he was really getting into the gym stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was always around lifting. When I was younger, my dad started pushing us slowly into the weight room. He wasn't overbearing about it. He was like, "Hey, you come lift weights." And it was like, of course. So
nice.
We ended up training. I don't know when you want to say I started training, but it was probably around it was consistent around 7th or 8th grade. I'll never forget our workouts because, we didn't squat. He's old, he's an old timey. So it was bench, overhead press, dips, tricep push downs, curls.
Oh, wow.
Sprinkle some bent over rows in there. We had, you're talking about the guy learned from what, 70s, 80s, 90s. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't that information about squatting and all that. And, didn't really like doing it. So we were doing upper body workouts, and it's kind of funny. I've benched 500 pounds. My best bench ever is 520. And people look at it and it's like, oh my goodness, you have great bench. It's like, I've been benching since I was like 12. Like it's, he bought us, me and Justin, he bought a Smith machine. My parents were divorced. He bought us a Smith machine when Justin hit high school. So I'm 4 years behind him. So I was like 10, 11, 12. Mm-hmm. So I started benching on the Smith machine, and, we never did squat. So I'd go out and I'd do bench and curls in 6th grade. So, wow. That's going long ago. Then, as we progress forward, my brother got into exercise science. Mm-hmm. He really got into the lifting ordeal and started learning about lifting and started to come back and teach me random stuff. Nice. I was in high school and I was squatting heavy, I'm getting up to the 300s, and he's like, all right, that's cool. You can squat 350. Well, here, take this box and set it down here and squat to the box. And you're talking about like a 13, 14 inch box, murdering my ego. Cause I wasn't obviously squatting deep. It's 2010, 2011. None of that information about squatting, to depth was really, out and apparent because the internet wasn't, the social media wasn't as big.
Right.
So he comes home one time and he's like, here, squat to this 5-gallon bucket. And I'll never, I could barely, I think I hit like 95 or 135. And I was like, you're stupid.
Wow.
Well, he kept on me, and I started, realistically, it was my senior year of high school was when I really got into actually squatting to depth. And I used to catch crap from it in high school because I'd squat low, and it just was, whatever paid off in the long run. So funny, brother gets into it. He gets into powerlifting. So I got into powerlifting. He was in geared powerlifting, but I was in, I wasn't necessarily into powerlifting. I was squat, benching, and deadlifting.
Yeah.
I didn't compete until 2015. I competed in 2015 in my first powerlifting meet. I competed in my first Highland Games in 2014. So back in about 2013, 2014, me and my brother, sibling rivalry at its best. He's the one that got into Highland Games up at the gym. Well, we go into the gym. He hurt his back. We do a mock meet. I out total him by like 5 pounds. And it's on. It was on. It was like, well, why don't you come throw? Why don't you come throw? And I was like, I'm not wearing a skirt and throwing, man. I'm good with that. So
it's hilarious.
He wore on me, and he's like, you need to do this. You need to do this. I was like, pass. Well, he goes, all right, I'll tell you what, I will get you a kilt, and I'll pay your entry fee if you come to games. And I was like, you know what? Fine. There was one about 30 minutes outside of Charlotte. I just had to stay at the house and go down. June of 2014, it was the Clover Highland Games. I went down there. Justin competed in the A class, and I competed in the B class. So there were no numbers compared to each other, but of course, he goes and throws and I throw, and we come together. I threw a 14-foot weight over bar, which won the B class. It was 14 feet. I placed first. Justin threw 13 feet, so I beat him in that event. And then the stone toss, where you shot put a stone, I threw like 36.11, and he threw 36.10. So I beat him by an inch there. And I got two little stupid medals that I still have in my closet today. That it hooked me. It hooked me automatically. It was like, and the little trinkets helped at the time. It was like, okay, we're doing this, and ended up doing like 2 or 3 more games in 2014, and then 2015 I competed about 15 times in the Highland Games.
Dang.
I finished. That was I did. I ended up turning into A. Got my butt whooped my first A games, and then kind of got away from it, got into powerlifting again, competed in powerlifting 2 or 3 times in 2016, 2015 and 2016. I competed twice in powerlifting.
Wow.
2017 in March, I went to the Arnold and competed in powerlifting.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Met a guy. His name was Zach Riley. He came out, won games in 2016 where me and Justin threw, and he whooped us bad.
Oh, wow.
Just out of nowhere. Like he hadn't been throwing long, and he's like, yeah, man. He's like, I've been throwing. This is my 4th games. And like he topped out the sheaf standards. He was throwing massive numbers. And we're like, what? Where's this? Like, in Highland Games, there's a database. It's called NASGA, and you can see everybody who competes. Well, he wasn't really in the top 10 or anything, but he's throwing top 10 numbers.
Wow.
So like he ended up blowing up after that game, just completely going on and having, I think he finished number 1 or 2 in the country that year. But I met him at a late games in 2016, and he pulled me aside. He goes, hey, I'll coach you for free. He goes, you are going to be really good at the sport. You have to commit to it. If you commit and stop your powerlifting garbage, I'll coach you and I'll make you really good. And I said, all right, guy, that's really good. I'll take that. I'll take that up. So my last powerlifting meet was March of 2017 at the Arnold. I competed at XPC finals. I competed at 275. I benched 500, squatted like 680, 670. I can't remember. In the deadlift 650. I won the 275 class on the amateur day, and I completely switched over to Highland Games. And from that point on, I went 2017. I finished 10th in the country in Highland Games. 2018 was 5th, and 2019 was 1st.
Dang.
It was, he was right.
Wow.
he sold me on it. I was like, well, I'll buy what you're saying. And it was like, throw, do this. And I'd send him videos, and he'd be like, all right, do this, do that. So, he really coached me up and made me what I am today. Then 2020, I won the USA Scotland Games. January 2020, was supposed to go pro last year. Instead of going pro, COVID hit. So I ended up, I decided I was going to cut some weight and get healthy.
Okay.
I actually cut to 242 and competed at a powerlifting meet in September, and I totaled 1770.
Good Lord.
I missed my third deadlift with 720, and it would have given me an 1,800-pound total. And I pulled it, got to the top, and got forward on a sumo deadlift and was done. So then this year I came out. I've thrown 3 pro games thus far. Yeah, and I love it. It's so much fun. I competed at Grandfather Mountain Games last weekend and placed third there. So I'm not throwing the way I would like, but we're still working on it, really looking to, make sure. I'm trying to get healthy. I've had knee tendonitis. I've had all types of problems over the past few years because 2017, 2018, and 2019, I threw 20 games apiece. I was doing a hard conjugate programming, and I laugh now because I'm 28 years old. I'm not that old, but that'll
brutalize you.
Yeah, I was coming in. I was competing Saturday, coming in Monday, squatting max effort.
Oof.
Coming in Tuesday, benching max effort, and then Thursday I would do speed squats, and then in the middle of that I'd go out and throw weights, stones, I'd throw everything, and it was just like, looking back, I was like, man, I was really training hard. And it's like, I can't do that anymore. Like that.
Yeah.
I was a kid, and I was reaping the benefits of just being a kid and being healthy, and everything kind of caught up to me. Finally got rid of my knee tendonitis, messed up my back a little bit. So I'm just trying to get healthy the rest of 2020. I got about 5 more pro games lined up. And then I'm hoping to come out in 2022 with a pretty good year in the pro class. So.
Nice. As far as Highland Games and competing, I mean, that sounds like a lot of competitions during the year. It sounds to me like it's not the same as powerlifting, where you can really only do effectively 1 to 3 competitions per year due to the peaking. With Highland Games, is it a little bit different where you don't necessarily have to peak every single time?
Yeah, no. So you go out in Highland Games, so you're throwing 20 times a year, right? Mm-hmm. So when you go out in Highland Games, it's, for me, you build up during the off season, and you try to you try to maintain strength. You're not getting much stronger. I got a little bit stronger each season, but it wasn't like notable. I was getting a lot stronger during the off season, but yeah, you build up, and you kind of just try to stay at a reasonable, you try to stay peaked for a certain month.
Okay.
So last year, the big games are typically in September. So you're working from June. We kind of have 2 seasons. Let me go back. We kind of have 2 seasons. Okay. You have your season from April. April, May is kind of a season. It drops off in June. It starts to pick up in July. And then a little bit of bigger games in August. September is the big month for Highland Games. Your Memorial weekend, there's always a big games that weekend. I went to Pleasanton, California, which is a massive games. Nice. But September is like the month where it's pretty, just all big games, just about every week, weekend. Now that I'm a pro, you have your Pleasanton Highland Games, your Estes Park, your Loon Mountain, and then you have Celtic for pros as nationals. So it's those 4 games are massive. You're talking, there's, I think there was between 5,000 and 10,000 people go through the gates at Pleasanton each year. Estes Park is, about a 3,000, 4,000 person festival. Dang. Loon Mountain it's in the middle of a mountain it's on a ski resort down at the bottom of a ski resort.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's just the mountains are all around you, and people sit on the mountains and fill the mountains. So that's another 5,000 to 10,000. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Wow. And then Celtic is in the city of Bethlehem, but there's about another 5,000 to 10,000 people there. It is they're all of them are massive festivals. So that's what realistically, everybody's training for those games. Okay. So that'll be where I'm going hopefully next year.
Okay. Awesome. Wow. So, it sounds like, that's just, on the side. So how the heck do you have time to start a gym on top of all of the training that you're doing? Because that is no small time commitment.
It's the pandemic kind of got me to start it. My gym's private. It's Strength and Power Memphis. I have the shirt on. You can't see it in the video, but whatever. So I started it with my wife. Me and her, we kind of weren't happy with where we were at training. My wife ended up moving to my garage and training because the gym we were going to was just, it was a great gym, and it started to lose its flair. The owner got greedy and wanted money, and it was, everybody knew he was making good money, but he wanted more, and it became about selling. It lost the community part of things. It was just very, all right, well, buy this supplement, hey, join CrossFit, hey, do this and do that. So it was he got very greedy. He did a few shady things. And during the pandemic, he still charged people, which my brother gave his members an option. And my brother's a very small gym and needed the income. But he kind of was like, hey, guys, I'm not going to charge anybody. Can you just, if you'd like, you can donate, but this is not mandatory. I'll, pause. Meanwhile, this guy's like, hey, I'm taking your money. If you pause your account, I'm taking your money this month and I'll pause it next month. If you want to end your membership, you have to pay this month. And so like, he was so shady and disgusting. I was like, you know what? I got equipment in the garage. I have some cash available. I'm going to go ahead and, build this thing. So
nice.
I had empty space in one of my restaurants. I have a strip center. In one of my restaurants, I have empty space on the opposite end.
Okay.
And me and a few buddies that were training in the garage were like, yeah, let's do this. So I spent some money, got some flooring, painted it, and threw the equipment in, and have just grown since then and just bought little equipment. And my members are a very big part of contributing on what they want. So I'm not dictating the whole gym. It's run as a community. 50 people, you have to apply. You have to be competing in powerlifting. You have to send in an application, show me, how to lift. It's not for gym pop. It's for people that want to compete in powerlifting. It's for people that want to do strength sports. I do have strongman equipment in there. But me and my wife, we started it. And yeah, it's just, it's as much of an undertaking as it is. It's kind of not, because it's just, I'm there training, 2 hours, 4 times a week. It's right next to the restaurant.
Nice.
I got a really good trainer. I'm not training anybody. I got a really good trainer, Bobby Scott. He has a CSCS. He has a 4-year degree. He's very knowledgeable. I do have a nutrition guy. His name's Thomas Lackey. He does my nutrition. He used to do he helped me cut to 242.
Nice.
He's done a lot of people's nutrition. He works under Justin Harris. I got a bunch of notable people around me. So the undertaking of starting a gym was getting members, and I knew with what I was going to offer that I felt very confident that I wasn't going to have to worry about that, because I'm giving people are very frustrated with what the environment they were in.
Yep.
All I had to do was offer an environment that, was powerlifting friendly.
Yeah.
So,
yep. And and you've got the exclusivity there with people who are actually serious instead of just banging around the equipment or anything like that. So I'm sure that was a huge advantage as well.
It's so cool that I have members now that when they deadlift, I don't ask anybody to do this. My members will deadlift. They'll chalk out the platform. They'll pull out my vacuum and vacuum the platform. It's like,
oh my word.
What if you give people something they want, they're gonna take care of it.
Yeah.
And so, that was kind of my thesis on it is, hey, I'm going to open this thing. I'm not the gym game's not where you make a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Right.
So, hey, if I can break even, make a few bucks. Hell, every dollar I've made this year has gone back into new equipment though. So it's like, if I can come out of this and have a place where I like to train, and it takes my time away from my other stressful job and what I do, if it takes my time away and it's a happy place, then I'm content.
Yeah.
And everybody seems to be content. So
that's gigantic. I mean, well, and So, I mean, you talk about community. When you don't have the community in the gym that's looking out for each other, that's when I feel like that's when most gyms fall apart. I mean, even it's funny you say that because I mean, even with the Planet Fitness and of the world, at least that at least everybody's there because they're afraid of being intimidated. There is some purpose. So it sounds like everybody really I mean, everybody really resonates with the message that you guys have with that particular space. That's phenomenal. I wish they had well, Strength Empire is here, but I was commenting to Justin that there's not a whole lot of true powerlifting gyms in the Charlotte area. There's a lot of big box ones and a lot of CrossFit boxes, but stuff like his, where they're actually serious and they have really good equipment like that, it's really hard to find. I don't know what your experience has been, just up in the, what is it, Memphis area?
Memphis, yeah.
Yeah, but
We had one gym here, and again, the guy was the thing is you watch somebody and you're around for their growth, and
yeah,
it was like all of a sudden one day, which he used to trash CrossFit. He has public videos of him trashing CrossFit. Well, he added CrossFit to his gym, and every dollar that gym has made has gone either into his pocket or into the CrossFit building.
oh geez.
So it was like, it used to be the pinnacle. It used to be the place to train. And now it's like, well, you're not, somebody was told you don't pay me enough to care about you. Like, it was like, it was like, I make $150 off each CrossFit member. You pay me 50. You're not, this, what, you want me to buy you new equipment? So it became a monetary thing, and it's gross, but, I know Charlotte's sprawling too. Memphis, I have the loop in Memphis. I guess it would be 485 in Charlotte.
Okay.
It takes you an hour and a half to drive, right? 485 in Charlotte.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It takes about an hour and a half. In Memphis, my loop's about 30 minutes. So,
oh, nice.
so it's not as sprawling. So, to have a gym, I'm right off the loop up north. It's not like Charlotte is, where Justin's gym's just far enough in Monroe where if you live inside that 485 loop, you're driving 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Traffic's awful there too. It's just, Charlotte's just it's overgrown itself and doesn't have that infrastructure. So
yeah, they're still working on public transit and the whole bit. So I'm hoping that more of those kinds of gyms pop up that actually are serious about training and that kind of thing, instead of just in it for, like you said, the money. But we'll see. There's a couple of really good ones, like Fitness Factory and in Charlotte, and obviously Justin's gym, but you got to be close to those locations. Actually, we were looking at Justin's gym when we were thinking about moving out to Indian Trail, because we're like, for right here we could be 15 minutes away, or for right here we could be walking distance. It's funny how you do that though when you're really when you're really interested in that kind of stuff. I want to also ask you about the your restaurant, or is it restaurant singular or restaurants plural? It sounds like you might have multiple.
Yeah, there's 4 pizza restaurants. So
nice.
It was a family business. My great uncle, he's 85 years old. He'll be 86 August 1st.
Nice.
He lives in Florida. Him and his wife, who passed away in 2014, they started it back in 1974.
Wow.
They ran it. It was booming. They had 13 locations across Memphis. And as I said, it was a 30-minute circle. So he oversaturated the market, God bless him, because he loved opening restaurants. But me and my wife got involved in 2016. I ended up becoming president in July of 2016. It was run by 2 people who kind of ran it into the ground. And it was like, hey, you're my exit strategy, so come on. And I was given the task, and it was funny, as a kid, I always used to ask my uncle when he was going to give me a restaurant. So like I wanted to be in this business. I liked making pizza. My first job was making pizza, Donato's Pizza in Charlotte. That's where I met my wife back in 2013, 2014. I think.
Okay.
No, wait, whoa. I'm sorry, 2009. 09. I met my wife in 09. We were working together at Donato's, and we ended up moving over here and running this place. And it's been it wasn't doing too well, and then we kind of have turned things around, and we're on the come up again. So
wow.
A lot of hard work and a lot of time. it has been tough. So
Yeah. So did you consolidate from 13 to 4, or did that happen just kind of forcing out all the
it,
other?
it happened before me. When I took over, I had 7, and I've shut it down to 4.
Okay.
And like, it's been funny because every time I've shut one down, we make more money. It's, they were being held up and they were being propped up by others. So like, this business is sustainable going forward for a very long time with 4 restaurants. Now, am I happy with 4? No.
Yeah.
I'll end up expanding probably to 5 and looking at doing some franchising, but it needed to be consolidated. We had a lot of things. I mean, I can get, if you want to get into restaurant talk, I'll talk restaurant with you all day, but I had to consolidate vendors. I had a lot of stuff that was going on where I had 7 stores. I had about 13 people pulling into my restaurant, and we were buying food from 13 different places. So we had 7 stores. And if you went to 7 stores, you got 7 pizzas,
Jeez.
7 different pizzas.
Okay.
So like if you ordered our meat pizza is called Meat Muncher. If you ordered a Meat Muncher at all 7 locations, you'd have different pizzas. You'd sit down and everything would taste different. So standardizing that, there's just been there was a lot of just mismanagement. And it was just, we got in here, we put in a POS system, just a lot of big changes we made, and everything's been doing well though. My employee retention has been great.
Awesome.
I've managed to hold people. I ended up closing 1 restaurant for a week during the pandemic because I had 1 COVID case in my restaurant. That's it. I didn't put up any plexiglass. I didn't really do anything special. My people are just healthy. And we ended up staying open through the whole pandemic. I employ 70 people. I had probably 3 cases total of COVID in this company from when it became a thing to now.
Yeah.
Wow. And our sales have boosted. We're doing really well. So it's been fun.
So what's the balance like then between, it sounds like the gym is almost running itself at this point. So are you spending more time with the restaurant area? Like I'm still trying to wrap my head around between competing, the gym, and all 4 restaurants. I mean, how have you managed to make that work?
Well, first off, my awesome wife, Stephanie, she's, we work together on everything. I mean, that's where we all started. We started working together at Donato's. Nice. And it was kind of funny. Me and her, she's the yin to my yang, man. It's crazy. It's awesome. She takes care of most of the books for Xline. She's my accountant, and I run the day-to-day pizzas. I run all the restaurants. She deals with all the numbers. So that divvies that up to where I don't really have to, there's a lot of trust. I mean, we've been together for almost 11 years now, and we're both on the same wavelength about everything. She's competing she competes in bikini. So she has a competition September as well. So she's in the middle of dieting and helping me make food for my diet. We wake up, we go to work, we work all day, go to the gym, hit our cardio, eat some more. And then, I mean, it's, I'm pretty disciplined. We have a general idea of how we do things around here, but it's mostly just being disciplined with checklists. I make sure, I had a friend say something to me about living by a checklist, and he's ex-military, so he loved the discipline thing. But like, he was like, man, and he kind of messed with my head a little bit, and it really got me thinking this way. He goes, man, if you were to put on a checklist every day, if you were to put correct meal 1, correct meal 2, eating the proper meal 1, meal 2, working out, cardio, and then you put your the rest of your work stuff that you can think of on it. He goes, you don't know how, it's easy to eat a meal, and it's something easy to take off a checklist. So it like kind of makes your day just go easier. It's pretty neat. And I've started, doing that, and it's just kind of, you stay organized the best you can. It is difficult. I mean, we don't have much of a work-life balance, but hey, what we're building right now can hopefully grow and, continue to sustain itself. not trying to retire, but, at some point we'll hire more people and it'll, this thing will grow and it won't be as taxing on us. But, we're deciding right now to suck it up and just, rock it out.
Sure.
That's all we can do.
And if what you're doing with the gym holds, I mean, you can outsource me and my wife run our own business, and I find the more things you can outsource, the more time that frees up. So, I mean, you sound like extremely capable, you and your wife sound like extremely capable people. So I'm sure that's going to drive a lot of success for you guys going forward. How anybody that you've met in powerlifting or the Highland Games that you just kind of just blew your mind? I know you went to the Arnolds. That's awesome. You probably met a bazillion different people there, but you just said, hey, I never thought in a million years I would come across this person. That's really cool.
Yeah, all right. This one's going to be funny. This one's weird. Ray Williams.
Okay.
Big Ray. So God, that guy. Big Ray. Big Ray, I met him first at the gym I used to train at. He came into the squat workout. He squatted 900 for a double.
Good Lord.
He did a 2x2 with 900 with a crappy Texas power bar and the metal 45s that, they're not the calibrated plates. So he's walking out and bouncing everywhere. But I met him there. I spotted him for his 900-pound squat. That dude, it was in 2017. So I was 25-ish. Mm-hmm. He walks up to me, goes, where you play ball at? I'm like, I don't. I'm 25, man. He goes, oh, okay. I was like, ow, my ego. Oh, or yeah, it was 2017 that I definitely met him. So yeah, 2018 Arnold rolls around though, and I'm on the Highland Games field, and he comes walking by, and he makes eye contact with me. He's like, "What's up, man?" And he comes over and he shakes my hand, and we shoot the, we're talking, and I had a buddy standing next to me that was like, Ray got on his phone, and my buddy standing next to me was like, "Hey, man, like, you think you could get him to get a picture with me?" I was like, "Of course." And it was kind of funny because he knew me, and the dude next to me is like, "How does he know you?" I was like, I don't, but like the fact that he had the wherewithal, he's a great human being. He's just a good dude. And he just was like, "Hey, man, like, we made eye contact." He's like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "Man, what?" And I don't remember if he had already competed or if he was competing the next day, but I was on the Highland Games field in my kilt, waiting to compete. So that was just, he's one of those people. I don't get necessarily starstruck or anything, but one of those people that, it was to be as big as he is and, to have the attention that he has. Yeah. That if you actually get to have the conversation with him and, actually get to talk to him, he'll remember you. It just says a lot about his personality. He's a good human being. That is a good dude.
That is amazing. Yeah, I mean, gigantic. It's interesting to me how many people at that level can remember names, just rattle them off like that. Like they have, it sticks like certain people in their head. Just walking by. I'm horrendous with names. I usually have to write them down. Sure. But yeah, that's insane. So how did you get connected with Hossware? How'd that come about?
Man, that's funny. I went to school at Appalachian State.
Yeah.
I had my buddy that was my gym partner / he worked at the campus weight room with me. And then we also he was a bouncer as well. We both bounced during college. Nice. His name's Ross Curley, and he's one of the owners. And me and him joked back in the day about starting a apparel line. Oh, hey. And we used to joke about it a lot. And he ended up graduating and meeting Jake, and they were when he approached me about it, I was like, "Hey, heck yeah, man, good job." And he's like, "Well, you're gonna be our first sponsored athlete." I was like, "Okay." Oh, sweet. I don't really have much of a following, but I'll grow this with y'all. I'm ride or he's my boy. I'm ride or die with them. I don't need a sponsorship, but it's like to have somebody like him and to have good dudes like them. They're the best people. Ross is an excellent human being, and I didn't know much about Jake, but over the past 5 years, Jake's awesome. Those are two funny, good dudes, and they just want to have a good time. They just want to lift weights. They're trying to get healthier. They're losing weight. They're doing a lot of things right, but all they want to do is just continue to get themselves better every day. And that's kind of the message of Hossware. And, people talk about, I had somebody at my gym go, oh, I don't need anything that says Hoss on it. Like, I'm not a Hoss. And I'm like, that's not what this is. It's not about being, it's about your attitude and the way you carry yourself and about being better. It's the message of the apparel, not the, plus they're funny. They have this thick shirt. They have power belly shirt. I mean, they embrace the what is it? They embrace the thickness, I guess is the best way to put it. They have fun with it. And it's like how, that's the type of, that is so me, is just to have fun and just do, whatever. It's throw whatever on a shirt, man. Let's see what happens. So they have a few funny shirts. It's just, they're the best. So that's how I got hooked up with them.
Nice. Yeah, I saw you wearing that at a couple of your photos. I love when guys can be clever with those kind of things. What's in your mind, just going back a little bit to training, can you help me understand a little bit about the differences in training style? I've talked to Ken Nowicki, who won Scotland's Highland Games back in the day, and he was talking about the training that he was doing for Highland and getting back into strongman. But I want to understand a little bit more the nuances of training between powerlifting and Highland Games in particular. And are there volume differences? Do you train similarly? I know the implements are obviously different. I mean, quite a squat, bench, and deadlift as opposed to throwing things, for example. But what kinds of things are you doing differently to train for when you were training for powerlifting that you're either mindset or physically than for Highland Games?
I used to not do anything differently at all. I did that. I did conjugate training, that max effort, dynamic effort. And I used to do that. But here now, as I've gotten smarter, the plan going forward is to, I'll be more velocity based. I got into that in the end of 2019, and I wasn't necessarily doing it correctly because the velocity I pushed it a little higher than I should, which would cause extra fatigue. But I mean, so anything you do in the gym for Highland Games is just GPP, right? So I mean, some people, you have multiple different trains of thought. I don't think there's any one right. It's whatever works for you, obviously. But there's some guys that'll go out, and it's been said to my brother before and myself, like, oh yeah, for 2 months when it was Highland Game season, I didn't lift a weight. I just went out and threw, and I'd throw, they'd throw an excessive amount of freaking throws. And it was like, you know what? If you told me that I have to stop lifting weights to throw, that doesn't really sound fun to me. I want to have fun. This is a hobby. Like, let's not, am I making any money powerlifting? No. I'm not really making substantial money being a pro Highland Games thrower. It's just it pays for my trip and gives me a little extra money to pay, for my nutrition coach or, my PT. So it's not like it's a living. But with my difference between the two, and Justin's is even different. He does Olympic lifts. I try to keep the volume lower. I do like moving something heavy. I'll try to keep it more velocity based going forward to kind of manage and auto regulate myself, because you can't. I don't do RPEs. I don't do RIR. Okay. I don't do any of that crap. But I do. Well, I don't. If you ask me, if you're like, hey, if I do a rep and you're like, hey, what do you think? And it's like, well, I can do more. It's not
kind of relevant for Highland, right?
I'm a terrible judge, because in my head, I just, I just want to move the most weight. There's no, if I'm doing 5 reps, it's not 5 reps in RPE. It's 5 reps in RPE 10. You're not going to tell me that 8th rep move, that 5th rep move good. It's just the ego in me. So what I'll end up doing is doing a velocity thing where I have a tendo unit, and I'll keep my speed about 0.4 to 0.5 on max effort days. That'll keep me less beat up going forward. I'll keep more dynamic effort work in, a lot more plyometrics, do a lot of plyometrics.
Okay.
I do, that would be a lot of med ball tosses and stuff like that.
Okay.
Probably would like to add in a little bit of running, just a little bit of sprinting, a little bit of sprints to sprinkle in. But I mean, volume wise, it's a little bit lower because you want to go out and throw.
Yeah.
You know, it used to be about during my conjugate days, it was a primary, secondary, and maybe one or two accessories, leave the gym, go to the field.
Okay.
But it's not, you still got to get strong. You still got to, it is called, they're called the heavy athletics. I know the heaviest thing you pick up at 56 pounds, but guess what? I deadlift 700 and I pick up a 56-pound weight, and somebody else deadlifts 550 and they pick up a 56-pound weight. I'm gonna throw it further. If I have this much better technique, or we have the same technique, I'm throwing it further. If I have this much better technique, I'm throwing it a lot further.
Right.
So it's, you can't neglect being strong. It's, you know, so.
That makes sense. What was that machine that you were, or that indicator that you were mentioning that was between 0.4 and 0.5? You said what was the name of it?
It's called a tendo unit.
What is that?
So it measures your velocity on on
the bar, like
yeah.
Okay,
so I have a little unit. It has a little string that comes out of the top of it.
Yep.
And it attaches to the bar, and it measures your bar speed.
Gotcha.
There's apps that do it and videos, but I have a pretty accurate one. So
nice.
I got one of the squats for science or something.
Okay. Those are becoming a lot more popular. I know the guys over at, I don't know if you listen to any podcasts like Barbell Medicine, they're trying to integrate more of they're thinking about integrating more of the bar speed on top of, like you were mentioning, the RPE ranges, because people do a poor job of, or can do a poor job of evaluating like what their effort is. Yeah.
That's me. It's me.
Yeah.
Just the savage, I hate to say it, but like the savage in you is just like,
yeah,
well, that moved good. More weight's going on the bar. So, you know, that's probably not smart. One of my best friend and training partner, he's on the RIR thing right now. And, you know, the funny discussions between me and him that happened. And it's like, I think he squatted 585 for a triple. And he looked at me and he's like, well, it's a triple, but it has 2 RIR. He goes, so could I do that for 5? And he's like, well, he goes, I probably could. He goes, but I could probably do 605 for 5. So let's load that on the bar.
Wait, what is RIR? I haven't heard that.
Reps in reserve. Reps in
reserve. Okay.
That was a new one for me too. I was like, RIR. He goes, yeah, you know, do something for 3 that you could do for 5. And I was like, how do you know what you can do for 5? Like what? Today I could probably do 500 for 5. Tomorrow, you know, I might only be able to do 475 for 5. So what?
Right.
It's I just don't. And then you get in the numbers game with me, and I don't, you know, I always want to be better. So
yeah, some of those programs combine the percentages, in case you don't know, with the RPE rate, and that's actually helpful because I'll use that in training, and sometimes I'll push it just to make sure I'm actually maxing out something, you know, like go 1 or 2 reps more. But yeah, like for a beginner, it's really hard because I mean, you think you're maxing out, and nobody really knows. Like I've heard that you really don't know what an RPE 10 is until you do the competitions multiple times. A max effort is really not most people's max effort with form and technique and training and all that stuff. It's just a different ball game. So
completely agree.
Yeah. Nice. Plans going forward, are you just going to continue to compete until you can't compete anymore in the Highland Games? Do you think, or have you ever considered doing strongman?
Yeah, I actually, it was funny. Was that 2017? I think no, it was 2018.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was 2018. I actually, it was in the winter of 2018. I was like, I'm going to do a strongman meet.
Cool.
So it was January, February, March is when it got into it. I was after the North-South games. So I got into training around end of January, beginning of February. And there was a Highland Games April 6th. I did the whole I did a bunch of training. I was doing keg over bar. I started doing yoke. I was doing all the strongman training, right? And I was still throwing, and I didn't really think much of it. I was like, well, I'm going to do this. I got to do this Highland Games because I need to do it,
right?
To continue to build my reputation. But I'll do this strongman meet 3 weeks later. Well, I got beat up by strongman so much. I was like, I remember it was like I had a squats, deadlifts, and keg over bar and yoke day, and it was like it took me forever. It was heavy. I felt like garbage. I hated every minute of it, and I was like, it was right before my. It was the week before my deload going to the Highland Games. Well, I ended up deloading going into the Highland Games, and I threw a 5-foot PR in the heavyweight, which broke a field record. I had the craziest day ever of throwing for myself. I broke 2 or 3 field records.
No way.
I broke 4 field records at that field. I threw multiple PRs. It was just like the most wild thing ever. And I was like, you know what? That was like another real commitment to Highland, like another recommitment. Cause again, I went from powerlifting to Highland Games, and I was like, I'm going to try strongman. And it was like, well, never mind. I texted my coach when I finished that games, and I was like, hey, I don't think I'm doing strongman anymore. I think I'm competing in Highland Games from now on. Cause that was the first time I threw any type of pro numbers. It was like,
wow.
I went out and I threw like a 40. So my PR in the heavyweight, which is a 56-pound weight for distance. Mm-hmm. I threw that 36 feet at the Arnold.
Jeez.
And then a month later, I threw 41 feet at it was called Tartan Day South in South Carolina.
No way.
And it was like it was like, what? It's somebody, I'll never forget, people were commenting on it going, who throws a 5-foot PR at 36 to 41? Like, how does that happen? But something clicked, and it was like, that was, it's addicting. It's that addicting PR chasing where, that feeling, it was like, okay, like, I like this. This is, yes, I'm good at this. So yeah, that was when I really, really recommitted. And I've threatened to do a couple powerlifting competitions. I haven't gone through on it until last year. But I'd like to do another powerlifting competition. I do have a goal of, totaling 2,000 before I stop that sport. I want to total 2,000 raw with reps, and then I'll shut it down there. But we'll see when that happens.
When you were PRing leading up to that, you were doing strongman training. Do you think the strongman training had anything to do with did you start implementing strongman training after that because of the PRs you were hitting, or were you really doing more Highland Games training leading up to that?
I dropped the strongman training because of how beat up I felt.
Oh, so you did drop it. Okay.
So I said, I looking at it now, it probably would have been smarter to keep some in.
Okay.
But I felt that was so awful. I don't know. It just, man, my body felt like I got hit by a car. Ooh. It was some really tough training. So I said, you know what? We'll shut that down. We'll go and we'll adjust back to, more speed based and, single leg and whatnot. So,
okay. Gotcha. And when you're training for Highland, you mentioned velocity training, just so I understand, that means going fast with heavy stuff, right?
That's moving everything as fast as you possibly can. Yes.
Okay.
So everything's about speed. Again, as much as I talked about, being strong and deadlifting 700, it kind of helps me fast, moving weight fast. Whatever, the strength velocity curve, blah, blah, blah.
I think that was what got Brian Shaw in trouble for a few years, because he had gained so much weight and he was getting slower because he was getting older. So that's what held him up a few times. I don't know if you watched the strongman competitions.
Yeah, he came back this year and was doing well, but it wasn't him his year. Tom Stoltzman just came out.
Oh my gosh,
on fire.
Tom's nuts. Have you met Tom?
No. Okay. I've seen him before. I saw some of those guys at the Arnold, and it was just man, I'm 6'3" and 280 pounds, 290. Well, I was 290 at the time, 290, 300. And it's like, you look at those guys and you're like, I am just not a big person. I'm not very big at all. It was Kieliaskowski. It's Martin Kieliaskowski, the dude from wherever. I saw him and it was like he was listed somewhere at like 6'3" or 6'4", and it was like, no, he's 6'6", like 350. He is massive.
Wow.
And just watching him, he has a funny walk, but man, he is such a huge, they're large human beings. They're so big.
Yeah, they're gigantic. They're giants. I mean, modern day giants, honestly. It's incredible. I had the opportunity. I went to FitCon in Texas, and Robert Oberst was there doing a meet and greet. And so on the History Channel, when they did that whole series on strongman, so he's standing next to those guys, and they made him look like he was 5'10". And I go up to him during the meet and greet, and he's like 6'7".
Yeah.
He's enormous. So I'm like, so now I'm wondering how the other guys compare, to like if I were to, walk up to one of those guys like Brian or Eddie, or, I mean, they're even bigger. It blows my mind.
Yeah. What's funny is like you meet the powerlifters. This is the funny thing for me, being at the Arnold and being all over. You meet like powerlifters and you think they're taller than they are. And it's like, I'll never forget like JP Price. He walked out 1,000 and squatted and bench 600 in the same beat. And he's like 5'8". Like everybody's super short. It's funny. I've met like, just a few people I've walked by and been around. It's like, man, you're not that tall, but you're in forklifts, but you're not very tall. So
yeah. Well, and with the powerlifting too, I think it's different than bodybuilding. I mean, I don't know what your experience is, but I see more big guys in strongman and I think Highland Games. With powerlifting, you can look small, but you can wreck on the numbers and be just fine. I mean, some guys decide to bulk, and that's because it's fun to eat a lot of stuff. But what's your favorite kind of pizza? Just curious. I just random question, since you run a pizza business.
That's all of it. I don't really, when I typically go with people. So I get a Supreme, your typical bell pepper, onion, mushroom, pepperoni, sausage. There's one that we make. It's called the X-Liner because my uncle didn't like bell pepper. So he did sausage, double pepperoni, black olives, and mushrooms and extra cheese.
Nice.
And that one's really good. And then of course, like an all meat pizza is delicious.
Nice.
My all meat pizza, if I give you a large all meat pizza, it'll be about 4 to 5 pounds.
Dang.
We put raw meat on it and cook raw meat onto the Oh, it's a very different experience. It's not for everyone. Some people have told me it's not for them, but if it tends to, if you like it, you love it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it's like, oh yeah, this is good. So
true meat lovers. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Have you thought about hosting any, or have you hosted any of your own meets at the gym?
So my gym's small. I got 2,000 square feet. I have not done a meet there. We talked about, me and one of my gym members had talked about trying to run a meet at a different local gym, and we're considering doing a USPA meet there.
Okay.
But it's kind of, that's in the works, and we're still trying to figure out, location and whatnot. The gym, I don't know if the gym ever got back to it, but I'd like to host like a powerlifting meet here, hopefully in the next 2-3 years. I'd love to host a Highland Games. That's my sport. That's for me. So I would really love to host a Highland Games and be able to do something really cool for the sport.
Nice.
Just trying to give back. That's kind of where the gym came from, is just, giving back to the great strength community, because it's such a great community to be a part of.
I have found that especially like you said, in strongman and Highland Games and even powerlifting, like the guys are really open and genuine, willing to chat with pretty much anybody, honestly. It's a really nice environment to be around. You mentioned USPA with Highland Games. Is it similar in that there are different divisions and different, I don't know what you would call it, organizations within that, or is it just kind of, it's Highland Games and that's it?
So there are different divisions. I'll give you that one. There's a lightweight, which is under 200, and that's it. And then you have, yeah. And when you get into weight classes, that's it. So
you're heavier or you're not.
Yeah, you're either over 200 or you're under 200, and that's it. So there's a lot of divisions when it gets to masters. We have a women's division. Masters, it starts at 40 and then goes by 5-year increments. Cool. There's lightweight masters now too, so there's more classes there. Yeah. But typically if you're looking at a men's, women don't have this because they haven't grown enough yet. They have it at a few games where they'll have like so men's classes, for example, they go BA Pro.
Okay.
And some now are at C in novice, and those are the super new guys. I got thrown right in the B class because it doesn't matter. You're a new guy. You're not very good. When you get to the B class, though, I can talk from my experience there. Down in the Southeast, you have a B class. That class, to get out of it, you have to throw a certain distance in 4 events, or 4 of 5 events.
Okay.
I believe, and you have to win a games to move up to an A class.
Okay.
And then your A class, I could have stayed in amateur A the rest of my life if I wanted to. But it's not very, it's competitive, but if you get to be, one of the top guys, it's kind of gets to the point where it's like, you're just kind of being a jerk if you don't move pro.
I got you.
It's like, what do you like?
You're just beating up the amateurs.
Yeah. The reason for a pro class is that you can, that's the beauty of the sport. If the pro class goes away, I'm very interested to see what happens, because like you have nothing you're working towards then.
Okay.
You have a few games that you can, but I've, in my position, I've won the few games. I've won my world championship. I've won North South. I've won USA Scotland. I've won the bigger games that you should win to go pro. Now, if I stayed and did it again, it's like, what am I doing? Like, of course, another amateur could come knock you off, but having a pro class and having that next tier of throwing, which I won like, I think I threw 20 times in 2018, and I won 18 of the 20 games. And one of the games was I bombed out on a event that I broke the world record in 2 weeks later. And then it was a long day, and I got very distracted and I didn't care, and I screwed around and lost the games by like a point, and that was frustrating. But then turn around, and I had an experience in California. It was my first time going to California, so you can take that experience the way you want. I don't know what this podcast is like, but
that's hilarious.
I got a little too loopy, and I went out to the Pleasanton games, and I was not in a good headspace.
Oh no, dude!
I had the best Chick-fil-A. I had the best Chick-fil-A in the world, and I walked out and I threw a stone, and I was like, man, I feel good, but it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And then I picked up the 56-pound weight, and I went to turn, and I go, man, I still like, whoa, like what's wrong with me? And then it took me another throw, and I was like, oh my goodness, I need to wake up. Like, oh, I did something bad.
Oh,
and guys are like, hey man, open your eyes. Why are they so blood? You look tired. Like, man,
I'm fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So I had that miscue, but I was so frustrated at the time. And one of the pros, being the good guys they are, he came up to me, he's like, hey man, let's don't be frustrated. This is the point of the sport. It's a hobby. This is hilarious. He's like, all you can do is laugh at what happened and just be done with it. Just laugh and move on with your life. And looking at it, having that perspective change, because I was super mad, because if you win that game, you get an automatic pro invite to the pro, because it's a massive pro games.
Yeah.
It's the Pleasant Highland Games. So I screwed that up, and but hey, it was hilarious. I laugh about it pretty often now, because it's a running joke with a lot of Highland Games guys. Like, yeah, watch yourself when you go to California. There's me and another top amateur that year did the same. Like, he did the same thing 4 months earlier.
Oh no!
And I was talking to him at a games. I'm like, what happened? He's like, well, I went to California. It was my first time there. So what do you think happened? They go, oh. So it's me and him. Every time we see each other, we laugh about it, because it's like, man, we're idiots, because that you go out there and you travel and you hope to get the pro invites, and if you don't win and you don't have a good showing, you're not going to get them. So
yeah,
it just, oh man, it was funny.
That's, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. Yeah, because you gotta be like, I can't imagine how focused you have to be during those events. In the Highland Games though, so is it like, I know that there's the classes, so is that all within a like USPA and USAPL?
It's not an organization.
It's not an organization. Okay, it's just the Highland Games.
So you do have a few different organizations around the country.
Yeah,
it gets a little weird and gets a little seedy. It's very interesting. So like down in the Southeast, you have the SHAG, Southeastern Highland Athletic Games. I forget, but it's an organization that runs all the South Games aside from Florida.
Okay.
Then Florida has their Scottish Heritage Society. Then you have up towards Virginia and the Maryland and all that, you have the Mid-Atlantic Scottish Association.
Okay.
Up north, you have like 4 or 5 different associations that just go across, but most of the games are run by that. Well, you do have a good some that are run by those. Then you have some games that are run by just specific ADs. So this guy runs this games.
Okay.
It's just some guy. It's a person who's been in the games a long time. He has that equipment for that games. Grandfather Mountain, you have to throw the same stupid. They give you, oh man, the weights there aren't very, like, nothing you throw there goes far. So like we had a weight that was, massive, and it didn't have very long of a chain on it. So didn't throw that very well. It has a stone that's about like that big. They have to tuck. That's, it's in a circle. So you think it's going to be cool because it's like a shot put, but it's not like a shot put at all.
Huh.
But this different implements, and which does make it kind of cool in the Highland Games. It does make it cool to go back and be like, they've had these same implements for 50 years. Oh, but wow. Also it's like, man, you want to throw far.
Yeah. Break records and stuff. I mean,
yeah.
So it sounds like they're all working together. I mean, they're all trying to get you, to either to the pro level or like out of the, I mean, they're all going to contribute towards the same goals, right?
Semi. Yeah, you do. It's a very interesting, difficult thing to explain. Okay. But I guess you're right when you say once you get into Highland Games, it's just the Highland Games. It's no longer USAPL. I mean USPA, USAPL, RPS. It's just, I'm going to compete at the SHAG Games this week.
Right. Okay.
I'm throwing at Grandfather Mountain. I'm throwing at the Backyard Rebellion. I'm throwing at Loch Norman. So it's you throw it at games instead of an RPS meet.
Okay. I gotcha. From I'm just curious, I'm not trying to stir the pot or anything here, but is there more or less politics than say within powerlifting? I mean, you've got people making comments about those divisions all the time. Is the Highland Games more or less political, would you say?
Lower levels, it's not very political.
Okay.
As you get up in level, it can get a little political.
Okay.
It's a little less political when you're at a lower level. It doesn't matter when you get to the pro level, when you get to being a top man or woman, one of the top men or top women, heck, even amateur there's a Super A group. Some games have a super A group. So like you're really good amateurs, like you're future pros.
Yeah.
And it can get political there because people invite, who they're going to invite. So
gotcha.
Once you get up more, obviously when you have that more, when it's more competitive, it gets a little bit more political.
Okay, I gotcha. And then did you say something about they're thinking about were they thinking about taking away the pro level at some point and just doing all amateur?
I don't like, it's not thinking about taking away. I'm just curious with the way COVID's hit in funding that they might steer away from having a pro class, because there's been a few games that have died in the past year from, not having and then, people like to not view the value of having a pro class, which is, typically I've been throwing 3 games, and every games I've had like a pro come up to me and be like, hey man, you need to do this. It's funny because nobody ever told me, and I never knew that there was more of they want you to carry yourself a certain way.
Huh.
There's no bad throws. You're an entertainer. So that's what you're paid. You are paid to be there to entertain people.
Interesting.
So it's pretty interesting. Yeah. Cause nobody ever said anything to me when I was an amateur. I was throwing whatever I wanted, acting, I wasn't acting like a jerk, but I was acting obviously because I went pro, but I never was, that aware of like, hey, interact with the crowd, do something here, be memorable, So now I'm starting to get taught, hey, like talk to people, make sure you go by and, take pictures with people, do whatever you need to do, because you're paid to be entertainer at the festival. You're one of the draws of the festival now.
Okay.
So
interesting. Yeah, that's a whole nother angle. I didn't even think about that because I haven't heard of, I know in powerlifting, there's always the big, there's always the celebrities and stuff, but it's usually like, that's because they're lifting big numbers, not necessarily because they're glad handing or shaking hands.
They could be it could be just the worst people in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Strong.
Yeah.
So like, you have people that are totaling, 2,000 plus pounds, 2,300, 2,400, 2,500 pounds, but they're just known for that. Meanwhile, they could just be the worst person in the world. It's like, as a pro Highland Games athlete, if you can. There has been a few times now that I've watched myself in the past 7 years of doing this, that there'll be this bright star that comes up and then they just go away. And you're like, what the heck happened? And it's like, well, they're a jerk. We don't like, people don't like, if you're not a person that they like throwing with, you'll get kicked out of the sport. You'll get kicked out of the pro ranks.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not a nice person, if you're not grateful for the opportunity, if, you cuss and, act a fool on the field, you're not going to be invited back. And it's just, It's funny how, as a lower level thrower, I didn't understand that. I was like, well, he's throwing big numbers. Mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't matter. If you're a jerk, you're a jerk.
Yeah.
So,
that's
very interesting.
That's a really cool difference though, because honestly, it sounds like that increases the goodwill towards the sport. I mean, it does much better things for, the Highland Games. I kind of wish, come to think of it now, that would be more of the case with powerlifting or some of those other kind of weightlifting, sports. Cause that would be, I mean, then if you've got the goodwill of the athletes and they're on their best behavior, I mean, that looks good on you guys all over.
Most of the time you could approach, if you go to a games with pros, you could approach any pro and ask them just about any question and they'll answer it, some of them now, if you're a good thrower and you're talking to them, you might get a little bit of hazing, but that's the community deal. That's the fun community part of it. But like, if you're a spectator and you have a question and there's pros there, they're going to answer it. They're going to take they're going to take the picture with you. They're going to do everything. And they're going to, if somebody has like, hey, how do I get into this? Yeah. Well, here's how you get into this. They'll go down the whole, they'll walk you through everything. They're but again, you're paid to do that. That's what your point is your point is, and you should be trying to grow the sport as a pro, because if there's more money coming to the festivals, theoretically, there's the opportunity for more money for the pro class to be, if you're getting that draw.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, What's the next event that you're going to be competing in?
There's a games in New Braunfels, Texas, that me and my brother are competing at. I'm throwing the pro class. It's called the Pillars of Strength.
Okay.
And he's going to compete in the Super A there, the Super A division there.
Okay.
And I'll be in the pro class. And yeah, that's my next event. And then I got two Michigan Renaissance festivals. And then my last games of the year for now is in October. It's Jackson, Mississippi. It's the Mississippi Celtic Festival.
Awesome.
Hopefully I can get into Stone Mountain, Georgia. There might be 2 or 3 more games that pop up and I hop in, but
okay.
You know, finishing the year after the year of COVID with about 7 to 10 games, that's typically what you see as a first year pro getting on a normal year. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Awesome.
And I think I'm going to I might qualify for nationals. I might qualify for Celtic, which was my goal, but my wife managed to schedule her competition because we had a miscommunication between the two of us of what weekend. And I thought, well, not miscommunication. I messed up and thought it was like the weekend before when it was, yeah. So it was like, well, you're doing a 17-week diet and you're doing all this cardio and I'll be there.
Good choice.
I mean, you know, she's like, I'll do it on my own. I'm like, I'm not gonna, it's cool. She's freaking strong. She's always been, she's really successful at anything she touches her hands at. Well, of course that's been powerlifting and now it's bikini, but you know, watching her compete's kind of fun and fires me up. So it's always, I enjoy that. I didn't realize how much I enjoyed the spectator and just, granted, going to a bodybuilding competition is weird. If you go to the night show, people yell weird things. Like, man, I was at that last year, that first bodybuilding show. I was texting and calling people going, dude, they were yelling, girls were on stage and they're like, yeah, glutes. Use your glutes, show your glutes, you know, and then like dudes were on stage and it was like, yeah, look at that abs, look at those lats. And it's like dudes are yelling. And I'm like, kid, this is just like, you know, powerlifting, it's like up and, you know, people are cheering in Highland Games or strongman, it's let's go. And they're yelling specific stuff out. And I'm like, I look at number 76, look at that. Yeah. Like it was like, oh, I'm just uncomfortable.
Yeah. Flex that specific body part. Okay.
Yeah. Sure. Mind you, I'm sitting next to Stephanie's parents, so it's like they're uncomfortable, you know, because it's their first time being around that too, and it's like I'm just sitting there and I'm like, man, you can't really put me in more of a weird place.
Oh my word!
It was bodybuilding. I'll never step on stage. I can tell you that. I can tell you in my future, I don't think. Unless I'm super old and just have a wild hair and there's not a chance in the next 20 years that I do it though.
It's just a whole nother ball game. Like from everything I've heard, it brutalizes you. I'm sure you know, but you know, the prep work is harder than it seems like. The prep work from a physical demands perspective, particularly with the dieting, is unlike anything else. You're
depleting yourself. The guy that does my coaching, he's a bodybuilder. And he's like, man, he goes, I'm probably at my worst when I'm on stage. He goes, that is the worst. He's like, you're so depleted and you feel so terrible. But again, the beautiful thing and the reason I cut weight was the rebound. I thought about the rebound factor of, hey, let me drop the weight. I'll get healthier. And when I go to put it back on, I'll put back on more muscle. Just the basic logic behind it. It's like, okay, I'm going to do that. So
that's a smart way to do it. So I'm going to wrap this up a little bit. Can you tell people where they can find you and find both the gym as well as any of the pizza joints if they're in Memphis?
So I'm G Blatnik on Instagram. I got a Facebook. I don't do anything on Facebook.
Okay.
The gym is Strength Empire Memphis. So it's Justin's my brother Jim. I don't want to call it a sister Jim because he's not. Yeah. So my brother Jim, Strength Empire. Jim, we're Strength Empire Memphis. And then the pizza places are called Xlines, EXLINES.
Okay.
And my Instagram there is Xlines Memphis. Okay. I appreciate having me on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Check this guy out if you're in the area for his competitions in the Highland Games. And I appreciate you coming on, man. Really, this is awesome. Thank you for listening. Please give FreedomCast a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. It would mean a lot to our business. Plus, it's fun to read y'all's reviews. See you next time.